Hello, this is Valerie Aiello, and you're listening to Idea Diary. Thanks for coming back to my office and hanging out. All right, today I wanted to talk about old music coming back again. And I had talked about this a few months back. I just had a kind of, I guess, a prediction that old music would kind of be popular again. Old records that maybe not had been famous, but even especially, I just had a feeling that old records that maybe weren't famous would kind of take over and maybe even chart again. And that prediction is kind of happening. So Rick Beato, he has a really great YouTube channel for musicians and just music lovers where he talks about playing and just kind of the status of the industry stuff. And he did a video. His video title was Why Old Music is Killing New Music. He was talking about this because of this article that was written, and the guy kind of said 70% of the music market is old music. And old music is defined by a song that's 2 years old or older. And the new music space market is actually shrinking, and old music is just taking over. Old music is being played everywhere, especially, I guess, probably like classic rock to all the way to 90s. Classic rock, 80s, 90s, and probably some of the like 2000s period, probably up to, I don't know, maybe 2010. And then there's like the space from like 2010 to 2012 where you could kind of see it was a little bit obvious that the new music wasn't really dominating as much as the old days, is how things would happen. So I guess I would say I worked at a record store in high school in the 90s. And then I worked at a record label. And I saw a lot of the music industry of what happened. I saw the death of the record store, the death of the CD, the rise of the MP3 and all the stuff and the iPods. And then I kind of didn't work so much in the music business, and I know, just watching things happen, things are definitely changing again. And I do feel like something happened in 2020 where the music got good again. I have a theory about that, but that's another show. A part of it is that the record labels don't really know how to nurture an artist and teach them how to record, invest money in them to help them make better and better records. It's just labels, they're not bringing much to the table these days, even though they're not pointless. I think a record label can be really valuable, especially by genre. If you have, electronic record label or a goth record label or a country record label, and you're finding really good albums, I think that having a family of albums does help people discover music. And it's just now, what's the record label's place? I feel like helping bands record with more professional engineers and stuff, that's a helpful thing, possibly, and helping them actually mass make vinyls and mass sell them. It's not really, the marketing part isn't really what a record label can do anymore necessarily, because you can't really buy success, at least when it comes to music and bands, in my opinion, because sometimes um somebody can put a song on TikTok or YouTube and it can explode overnight with no marketing budget at all. So things are definitely changing, and one of the big hints was when the guy, the skateboarding cranberry juice guy, he was drinking a bottle of cranberry ocean spray juice, riding a skateboard, and he chose "Dreams" as his song that he was doing that to, and it made "Dreams" by Fleetwood Mac go to the top of the charts, and it was crazy. And it was just this magical moment that it was like a big aha moment, like where these songs that are maybe 40 years old can now have like new life breathed back into them by people just sharing them in an authentic way. And then another big aha moment was when the twins on YouTube, they did a reaction video for the Phil Collins song In the Air Tonight. And that was a big boost for sales for this old, super old song. And the twins kind of brought Phil Collins back on the charts. And that was a crazy moment. My prediction is that person to person sharing music is going to be very important again, like it was in the 90s. I think people get an impression that everyone was like an alternative kid in the 90s and that was what was popular, but they don't really understand that there were lots of different styles of ways to dress and how to, I don't know, there's just a lot of different genres. There were cowboy people, that would wear cowboy boots and hats to high school, and there were just jocks, and there were preppy girls, and there was all this mainstream music, and then there was this alternative music, which ended up becoming mainstream music, but at the time, you were still considered kind of a freak, It wasn't that every single person listened to that. It was just there was alternative music. And beyond that, if you weren't listening to a band in the 90s that no one's ever heard of, you weren't listening to music. People loved to discover stuff and to listen to stuff that no one else knew about. That was like a big deal. Kind of what was happening was that you would make a mixtape of all the bands that you like, and then you would give that mixtape to a girl or a guy, and you would also just share tapes with your friends. You would make all these compilations of songs, you would burn them on a CD, and you would have like this big book of CDs that you would carry into your car, and a lot of them would be CDs that you purchase, but also there'd be like a bunch of blank CDs that you and your friends would make compilation CDs, I guess. And that's how you shared music. And even before CDs in the 90s, where you were still buying tapes and stuff, you would make a mixtape. And I guess there was this whole underground tape scene where people would make a bunch of copies of cassette tapes of bands and then mail it out to all their friends, and then that person would make a bunch of copies of these blank tapes of artists and mail those out to a bunch of friends. So it was like this underground music sharing thing that was happening, and I feel like that is what's going to kind of come back in some way. Now you might be emailing and sharing links and stuff like that. You don't necessarily have to mail a package anymore. But I think there's going to be less and less big, huge artists with tons and tons of hits. It's been a long time since an artist could kind of release an album that had more than one good song. Lana Del Rey was kind of a newer artist in a way that kind of I noticed that all these songs are good. There isn't a bad song in the bench. And that was even a pretty long time ago when she first came out with Born to Die. Anyway, I'm gonna leave some links in the show notes for you to check out. So I'm gonna leave the link to the article that was written called "Is Old Music Killing New Music?" I'm gonna link to Rick Beato video where he's talking about why old music is killing new music. And I'm going to add a link about Liz Phair doing an interview talking about how she got signed to Matador, which kind of explains the underground mixtape scene. And then I have a link to just something interesting. Mary Lou Lord, she was a Boston singer songwriter, and she was on the news, so like a Fox News, some sort of local news channel being interviewed, and the newscaster is kind of asking her if she feels bad for selling out, going to a major label after she was on Kill Rock Stars, and Mary Lou Lord, it's kind of really weird to see a newscaster kind of shaming an artist for going mainstream. but she took it well. And it's just kind of interesting for you to watch that to kind of get the feel of you didn't want to be mainstream. You didn't want to be super popular and was actually like, it wasn't an insulting thing, but you weren't necessarily proud of it. You wanted to kind of hide the fact that you were signing to Sony Music or something like that, which is a really great thing to probably happen to somebody. And I'm going to share the link to the twins reacting to in the Air tonight because I do feel like that was a huge moment in how people are going to start discovering music these days and how old records are going to come back. And I think that is just kind of what I wanted to share today, just super random music marketing talk. And I guess that's the show. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.